This is Brenda Kunneman. She is Hank Kunneman's wife. She runs a megachurch with him in Omaha, Nebraska, and they consider themselves to be Trump prophets. They claimed to have prophesied that Donald Trump was going to win the 2016 election, and of course he did. All right, there's a hit. And then they prophesied he was going to win the 2020 election, and he didn't. There's a miss. That makes them false prophets, right? They refuse to give up on that idea. They are the leaders of a full-blown cult. And I would say Hank Kunneman is the leader of, or one of the leaders of the Trump cult, more specifically. So let me just introduce you to Brenda. They are doing everything they can to blur the line between religion and politics. They want to erase the separation of church and state. And like I said, it is a full-blown cult at this point. Listen to what she had to say here. This is late March 2022 on the subject of being a cult.
Home from the office one day, and I remember we walked into the house from the garage. I mean, we were just exhausted. We'd had it. We said, God, you know we're not a cult. We preach the Bible. We pray in tongues.
Obviously, this is not the first time that she's been accused publicly of being a cult leader. That's a little bit defensive. I've never felt compelled to defend myself against an accusation of being a cult leader because I've never been accused of being a cult leader. Well, I have, but I haven't taken it seriously. You know, this should raise some red flags. It's kind of weird to me that she's justifying doing the things that she does and claiming she's not a cult leader by saying she preaches the Bible. Does she really not see? I mean, didn't David Koresh preach the Bible too from Waco, Texas? Marshall Applewhite believed in the Bible too. He preached the Bible. Is she really, like, not seeing how piss poor of a defense this is? Here's another one. This is late January 2022. She had some things to say about the Democratic Party. Remember, she's been trying to blur the line between state and church for a long, long time.
I can't find anything, and believe me, I've looked, anything on the left that is good to support. Okay, it's filled with lies and homosexuality and abominations and, you know, in fact, the party, I'll just say it, the Democrat Party put straight up on their platform that we are the party of the non-religious. We don't want God. We're atheists. That's what they've said. You could go read it yourself.
No, I wish that they felt that way, but unfortunately, the Democratic Party is still very, very religious. And there really is not much that we can do to change that. Unfortunately, the far right, the extremists, have pulled the Democratic Party to the right. There is no left-wing party in America anymore. It's all right-wing. It's just how far right are you? At this point, Brenda Kunneman and Hank Kunneman and all of these other megachurch pastors in large part represent the moderate right. They are all fundamentalists and extremists to the core. There is no real moderate right left in the country.
They said, we want nothing to do with religion. We're the party of the non-religious. I'm not going to give 50% to somebody that wants to support something like that. Come on, somebody.
Like, just completely fabricated. She just made that up. There's no basis for that belief. You know, on occasion, I've been known to get the occasional thing wrong. A few weeks ago, I was out here talking to people about this video. I was watching a video from a Trump rally, and some Trump supporters were out there talking about gematria, this Jewish thing, and they were wearing shirts that had Princess Diana on there, right?
Okay, first of all, y'all are so cute. I love the outfits. I would like detailed explanations on every single shirt. Ready, set, go.
Right? So, living, and we know living, ruling the world, and you don't take down evil by being quiet or silent, right? So when people start understanding gematria, they start understanding the numbers, A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3.
And I made a mistake, and I said Princess Diana was next in line to be queen before she died. Somebody came into my chat and said, no, she wasn't next in line. She was about to marry, or she was the mother of the young princess. She's about to marry into the royal line. And you know what I did? I corrected it. I inserted a correction in the video. I get the occasional thing wrong. I always remove it before it finally gets uploaded to YouTube, or I always insert a correction, no matter what. If I find that there's a serious mistake in something, I will correct that mistake. Brenda Kunneman is out here intentionally lying about things, it seems to me. How can you possibly say something so blatant as the Democratic Party in their platform says, we are the party of the godless, and we don't believe in Christianity or whatever else it was she said about them? How can she come out here and say that stuff with a straight face, knowing it doesn't, knowing that this is a complete fabrication right off the top of her head? How can she live with herself to so blatantly lie like this? There's a fundamental difference in principles between me and church leaders and congressmen and stuff. Church leaders, televangelists, congressmen are willing to blatantly, flatly lie about things. It's like a principle difference. I do my best to get facts and information correct. They intentionally lie about it. And that brings us to our first email. The subject is planks. This is what the email says. Damn it, just got in on the tail end of the chat. Brenda cracks me up. She and the other WFJ, I'm not sure what that means, really depend on people not checking what they say, since they can be so easily debunked. I seriously doubt that she reads all the planks of the Democratic Party. The thing is massively long. However, just skimming, there is a section on upholding the discriminated against, and offers a long list including religious minorities, which I suppose includes us. But if she couldn't find anything in this document to support, she's stone blind. And they actually posted the document to me. I went there. This is the Democratic Party platform. So just out of sheer curiosity, I just searched for religion or religious. Here's the first sentence that I came across. This is the Democratic Party platform. This is what Brenda Kunneman was talking about. What she told us says that the Democrats don't support religion. This is the thing. This is where we would find it if that were true. Here's the first instance of the word religion. Democrats will protect and promote the equal rights of all our citizens. Women, LGBTQ people, religious minorities, people with disabilities, Native Americans, and all who've been discriminated against in too many ways and for too many generations. That doesn't sound like the Democratic Party saying that they are the party of the godless and refuse to support religion. Here's the next instance. We will ban racial and religious profiling in law enforcement. Here's the next one. Democrats are committed to ending discrimination on the basis of race, ethnicity, national origin, religion, language, gender, age, sexual orientation. Weird. No mention of what Brenda Kunneman claimed. Is that odd to anybody else? We will enforce and strengthen the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act and will end racial and religious profiling in law enforcement. Here's the next mention of religion. Religious freedom is a core American value and a core value of the Democratic Party. Democrats will protect the rights of each American for the free exercise of his or her own religion. Here's the problem. Republicans, particularly people like Brenda Kunneman, don't want religious freedom. They want Christian supremacy. They want to force their religion on other people. And having core values like religious freedom, protections from discrimination based on sex or race or religion or whatever else, a lot of that stuff goes against what the Republicans want and intend. They want to be able to discriminate against people based on religion because they know they're in the majority religion in the country and they will not suffer from any religious discrimination laws. In the delusional fantasy land they live in, they like to pretend they're the persecuted minority. In reality, they are the majority religion and they are in power. They hold the positions of power currently. Anyway, let's keep reading the email from this person. Major chunks of this document detail COVID recovery and cleaning up after Trump. Maybe she doesn't like that part. Again, happy birthday. Appreciate that. Yeah, July 20th was my birthday. Dude, be righteous to yourself. Cake, ice cream, open gifts. Revel that you're still here after another Earth revolution. That could have demolished any of us. We survived, and that's pretty damn good reason to celebrate. Absolutely agree. 100%. My best to Rose and Kylie and the fur babies. Give them a good scratch behind the ears for me. The cats, not Rose and Kylie. I'm sorry. I already gave Rose and Kylie a scratch behind the ears. I hope that's okay. Sincerely, Trisha, who thinks it is really eerie to have lived long enough to see history repeating itself. Thank you so much for the email. It was really interesting. Here's a message from somebody. It says, I found some troubling stuff. Give it a read and let me know what you think. The title of this article on this gotquestions.org website is, With all the different religions, how can I know which one is correct? So I figured we'd just kind of just glance through real quick and see what it had to say. There's no doubt that the number of different religions in the world makes it a challenge to know which one is correct. First, let's consider some thoughts on the overall subject, and then look at how one might approach a topic in a manner that can actually get to a right conclusion about God. Weird way to word it. The challenge of different answers to a particular issue is not unique to the topic of religion. For example, you can sit 100 math students down, give them a complex problem to solve, and it's likely that many will get the answer wrong. But does this mean that a correct answer does not exist? Not at all. Those who get the answer wrong simply need to be shown their error and know the techniques necessary to arrive at the correct answer. Okay, so I guess these people are going to kind of show us how to come to the correct answer about God, right? And this is the framework they're laying out for us. The above framework, when applied to the topic of religion, will help lead one to a right view of God and will answer the 4 big questions of life. 1, where did we come from? 2, how should we live? 3, what is the purpose for life? And 4, where is mankind heading? But how does one go about applying this framework in the pursuit of God? A step-by-step question and answer approach is one of the best tactics to employ. Narrowing the list of possible questions down produces the following. Does absolute truth exist? Do reason and religion mix? Does God exist? Can God be known? Is Jesus God? Does God care about me? This honestly reads like Jehovah's Witness propaganda, except it's not. It's just normal religious propaganda. Fascinating. Complete nonsense, all of it. They are desperately clutching at straws to try to prove that God exists in one way or another. And honestly, the correct answer to whether or not God exists is, I don't know. That's the correct answer for everybody on planet Earth. I don't know. Nobody knows. We have no way of finding out until he chooses to reveal himself to mankind. Now, you can tell me that you do know and that he revealed himself to you, but I could just as easily tell you that I know and he revealed himself to me and you got it wrong. As a matter of fact, that's a consistent problem that cycles around humanity constantly. The Muslim tells the Christians that they know that God is real and he revealed himself to them and his name is Allah and he wants you to do this thing and pray 5 times a day and eat this food and blah, blah, blah. And the Christian tells the Muslim the exact opposite. God revealed himself to me, and he said you don't have to pray five times a day. So the correct answer, when it all boils down to it, is I don't know. Because everybody is telling me that they do know, and they're all giving me contradictory answers. Until God reveals himself to me, I have no reason to believe any of it, and I don't care what kind of ridiculous mathematical equation you think you've worked out. I just about guarantee I've heard it all before, and it was all nonsense then. Until God shows me, reveals himself to me directly, I simply don't believe you. Nothing against that. If you want to believe in God, that's fine, but you don't have any more reason to believe in him than I do.
Hey, this is Andrew from Saskatchewan, Canada. I just have a little question for you. If there was a government run by atheists and only atheists, watching a bunch of videos of these extremist pastors and stuff like that, I'm just starting to think that we as a society should just have a government ruled by atheists and only atheists, despite having the country has a majority of Christians. So I'm just wondering, do you think it's a good thing or is it just favoritism? Just wanting your thoughts on it. Thanks.
Interesting question. That could never happen in the U.S. because there's a bit in the Constitution about not having a religious test for like people who want to run for office or whatever. But hypothetically speaking, let me entertain the question and say, if we could implement a religious test in the United States, do I think it'd be a good idea? And the answer is no. I don't actually have a problem with religious people at all. Certainly not religious people being in office. I really don't care. It is possible to keep religion and politics separate. It's totally 100% possible. Like, it shouldn't even be hard. Even if religion informs a lot of the decisions you make, you have to understand that you can't impose your religious beliefs on somebody else. And if you do understand that, we're all good. That's totally okay with me. You want to be in politics, I'm fine with that. Look at Raphael Warnock. Dude's a pastor, and he's a Democratic senator right now in Georgia. I'm totally okay with that. I have no issue with it. The problem isn't with religious people or religious people in government. The problem is extremists in government. Now, there are a lot of countries around the world that are, by and large, mostly run by atheistic or secular governments who don't have, like, religion as any aspect of their government, really. The UK is significantly lower on religiosity in their government. But guess what? They still have extremists. They still have right-wing nutcases. They still have left-wing nutcases. They've still got corrupt people all through the government. Corruption and extremism are aspects of humanity, no matter which way you slice it. And there's really no way to set up a government that excludes extremists and corrupt people and stuff. All you can do is your absolute best to correct for it. When you figure out somebody is gone extremist, when you figure out somebody is corrupt and taking bribes or whatever other thing, correct for it, regulate it, try to kick them out, find some way to prevent that kind of thing in the future. Has nothing to do with religion. I'm really okay with religious people in government. We just need to get the extremists out desperately. Before we continue, I just wanted to mention something. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, there's Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring. Or you can check out my Telltale Unfiltered channel. I go through long-form, unhinged sermons from all kinds of people, from Hank Kunneman to Greg Locke to Jehovah's Witnesses. So give it a look. Links are in the description. Okay, now back to the video.
This is Marty, and I'm stuck in Illinois. But I have a joke. It's a joke.
Okay, so we got a joke here, and Marty desperately wants us to know that it's not real. It is just a joke. All right, lay it on me, Marty.
My grandma's died. She came back to life. But while she was dead, she briefly visited heaven. And while she was there, she got the nickel tour. And the first stop was a little local clapboard Catholic parish, and they were out in the yard playing bingo. It was beautiful weather. They were having a nice time, and they go walking down the road, and the angel giving the tour points out that was the Catholics. There's the Lutherans over there, and they walk a little further. And there's the Methodists down here, and they walk a little further. There's a few Muslims up here, and they walk a little further. And there's some Muslims and some Buddhists. And it's a great mix of people. Then they walk a long, long, long ways without saying anything. And then there's a path, and you can't see the end of the path. But the angel stops and says, "Now, from here on, we have to be really, really quiet because down this path are the Baptists, and they think they're the only ones up here." Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate the joke. That's pretty funny. I think I've heard a variation of that, or not necessarily in joke form, but somebody asked me a while back what I thought would happen when, like, for example, Greg Locke got to heaven. Just hypothetically, say Greg Locke gets to heaven, and he finds that, like, people of all backgrounds and religions and races are all there too. What would he do? Would he try to start a revolution? Would he try to kick them out or what? And my answer was he would probably believe that he had actually done something wrong and ended up in hell by mistake before he accepted that God allowed everybody into heaven, just about. But I think he would eventually come around. So I that's a funny joke, and I appreciate that. I think eventually, if that scenario played out, people would eventually come to accept the truth, but they don't really tend to accept the truth about like the facts around. They don't tend to accept the facts around them when they're on Earth. So I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't accept facts around them when they got to heaven. Who knows?
Hey, Owen. This is Guy from Illinois. Quick comment on the Muslim man that they got in custody now for supposedly killing the four fellow Muslims. Okay, he's a suspect, and I dislike as an atheist my whole life. I can't stand any organized religion, but I got to agree with Bill Maher. Muslims, Islam is by far the worst. That's the thing, and as soon as they said that this guy, my first thought was, oh, he's got to be a Sunni, and they married the other. I forget what the other
Shiite
denomination is. They kill each other. They'll kill their women because they're of their honor. Okay, this is crazy. Okay, so the Muslims are the worst. They are the worst. The religion is, and any fundamentalist Muslim is worse than any fundamentalist Christian. Okay, worse, because they're killing their own. They kill their own. Okay, keep up the good work.
Yeah, I appreciate the voicemail. It's an interesting point. I'm not 100% sure that I agree entirely. I think the thing that prevents Christians from killing non-believers in America is the strong democratic institutions and the Enlightenment values that the country was rooted in originally. The Middle East doesn't have the benefit of having like strong democratic roots. I'm pretty sure like Saudi Arabia is a monarchy, isn't it? It's like got a king and a prince and stuff. It's basically like a dictatorship for all intents and purposes, and it is largely a theocracy. I think it's like a cultural and political institutional problem more than a fundamentalism problem. Although I will grant you this. The Quran was written from the perspective of like a military leader, right? Muhammad was supposed to be like a military leader. And his answer to a lot of things was fighting and killing and dying and stuff, right? Jesus was a little bit more peace-loving than that. Like the New Testament, it's harder to come to the conclusion that Jesus wanted you to attack and fight and die for a cause or whatever. Not to say it's impossible. Extremists will find pretexts for their extremism, always. You come across an extremist, a violent extremist, Christian in the U.S., and the pretext that they give you for their belief is Jesus said, I came not to bring peace, but a sword, or something like that. Brother will turn against brother and all that stuff. Like the one verse that they're taking out of context to some degree to justify their hatred and anger and violence, right? Extremists will always find a pretext for their extremism. I don't believe that Christian extremists are any less violent or desire violence any more or less than a Muslim extremist. I think that culturally and politically, the area, the government, and the culture allows for that violence to actually play out and move past the daydream stage, where it stays with a lot of Christian extremists in the U.S. I think it's the strong institutions that prevent Christian fundamentalists from actually acting on their violent tendencies. People are people, human beings are human beings, and religion is religion, and fundamentalists will always find a pretext for violence, always. It's a complicated issue, and generally speaking, I would say, for the most part, Christian extremists and Muslim extremists are roughly about as violent as each other. It's just the Christians can't or won't act on their violent inclinations because of the strong democratic institutions that they grew up in and the cultural values against certain things. But I don't know, that's just my take on it. I could be wrong. It's just what it seems like to me. I don't agree with the caller. Independent reports have found that in America, since 9/11, right-wing Christian extremists have killed more people than Islamic extremists. Neither are good, but I think people are ignoring the threat from the Christian right. Yeah, that's true. I think the caller's talking about Middle Eastern Muslims, though, not American Muslims. Totally agree. American Muslims tend to have a totally different culture than Middle Eastern Muslims. They're a lot more moderate, not anywhere near as extreme, generally speaking. The Christian right is by far the bigger threat when compared to American Muslims. Notice that you changed your email since I emailed you in January, so maybe you quit using the other one just as I emailed you. Emailed you tonight on both emails. I didn't change it. It's telltalemailbag@gmail.com. It's always been telltalemailbag. Although somebody's been using it as a dumpster for spam, and that has made it a lot harder to sift through real emails. So if I don't get to you, that's probably why. Somebody's using it as spam. That's also the reason why I stopped listing it in my description, because I don't want any bots to pick it up or whatever. So if I can't get to you, I'm sorry. I'm doing my best. I had like 300 emails from random spam stuff. I don't know why people would do something like that, but it does make it harder to sift through.